It looks like we can begin our January 14th meeting of the Southborough Youth Commission. We'll start with a review of the minutes from December 3rd. Were there any comments or edits to those? If I can have a motion on the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the December 3rd Southborough Youth Commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
So we'll do a roll call vote. Karen Englam,
Aye.
Laura Chioco,
Aye.
Sarah Micas. You're on mute, but okay. I saw your lips move. Nancy Sutton,
Aye.
Susan Byer,
Aye.
and Lauren Ritchie, aye. So the next on the agenda, we'd like to welcome Emily Bordeaux, who's the new program coordinator, and she is in the audience, so I'm going to promote her to panelists to welcome her and introduce her. Sarah, would you give an introduction, please?
Yes, be happy to. So as you all know, our program coordinator left earlier this year. We spent some time interviewing candidates, and we're thrilled that Emily put her name in the hat. I'm going to let Emily speak a little bit more about her background, but I think it's a great fit, not only for the department, but for the town. Her skill set lends itself very well for assisting the town in many different ways across different departments. So Emily, I'll let you share what you'd like about your background.
So my name is Emily. I started last week with the department. I recently completed my master's in public health from Boston University. I focused in health policy and law while I was there, but did a lot of other coursework and hands-on work on community intervention and community programs surrounding public health. I am very interested in health equity, access to healthcare, as well as health communication, specifically in combating health misinformation. I think that's a big issue that we have generally. So that's, kind of my public health background. And while I was in grad school, I did a lot of childcare. I was a nanny and did a lot of, babysitting for various families. While there in grad school, I worked with probably now at this point close to 50 families of varying regularity in the community that I lived in. I live in Boston. And, when I was looking for jobs after grad school, I worked briefly at the State House, where I really liked the community and public interfacing aspect of that. I was there for a short while, but after leaving that job, I knew I wanted a position that was very public facing and got me to work with the community and kind of bring all my interests together. And this seemed like the perfect fit. And I really had some nice conversations during my interview with Sarah and other women that work in the office, and other town members or town members as well. And I'm excited to get started, do some programming, obviously, as the name suggests. Bring some public health lens into this work, and help out with whatever the town's needs are. And we're getting to work on the community needs assessment. So hopefully that will help direct any future programming we put on. Thank you for having me. And I know I met some of you earlier today, but great to meet everyone else virtually.
Emily, it's really great to have you as a program coordinator here. And we, as a commission, we've been participating in a lot of the outreach activities. So we'll look forward to working with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Does anyone have anything to say to Emily before we promote her back to audience?
Well, welcome.
Thank you. But happy to be here. And yeah,
The timing
to-
is great to have Emily on board with the community needs assessment that we're launching in 2025 across the town in different sectors of the community, because it affords her the opportunity to meet folks, but also, given her background and having done this work previously in other communities, she is experienced and knowledgeable about how to run focus groups and do interviews, and has really, I've been very impressed with Emily's, I'll come into work and say, I was looking at the town census last night, and I said, are you reading that for fun? But she's, really looking at a lot of different data that already exists and looking at our previous community needs assessment, and data is not my strong suit. And so I really appreciate her skill set and involvement in this project, as well as many other things.
Thank you. Yeah. I worked with the town of Brookline while I was in my graduate school program. We did a community needs assessment for their public housing complexes that they had there. So that was a really great experience to kind of, we were obviously being supervised by one of our professors and obviously working with their housing department, but it was a good, kind of foundation building for this type of work. So glad to do that. And I love data. I used to work previously as a research scientist in cancer immuno-oncology. So very excited to now transfer those data skills into public health and help out town Southborough. So
Terrific. All right. Thank you, Emily. Thanks for joining us tonight.
of course.
Thanks, Emily.
Nice to meet you, Emily.
Let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to, do I click remove?
Yes, it sounds
Okay.
harsh, but yes.
Yes, it does sound harsh.
Remover.
Oh, whoops. Oh, now I'm reporting her. Oops.
Oh no, sorry, Emily.
Okay.
I'm sure she'll rejoin.
Next on the agenda, the Board of Selectmen have brought up recently human services, a concept of human services for the town, and we wanted to have a little discussion about that. Sam Stivers is in the audience. Can I, Sarah, is it okay if I promote Sam?
I believe so.
Okay. Sam, if you'd like to join us.
Great. Thank you. Good to join.
Hi. Good to have you with us.
I don't know how you want to proceed. I'm happy to give you a little background on where this came from, if that would be a good place to start.
That'd be great.
Okay. I don't know if folks saw last week's select board meeting, but I asked to have on that agenda discussion of a human services department concept. And I laid out some thoughts about that I've been thinking about for some time. And I think there are some interesting timing opportunities here for us to consider this more broadly. And so I've asked to be on this agenda, and I tried to get on the Council on Aging agenda this week, but I was preempted by more important things, I guess. And so I'm on their next agenda to talk about it. Marguerite Landry volunteered to help me with this. I don't know if Marguerite is in the audience, but she had a conflict she was going to try to resolve. But if you see her, it might be useful to promote her as well at some point here.
Let's see. There's a hand up for Southborough Library guest. Is that Marguerite?
That's probably
That might
Marguerite.
be
I'm guessing.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's library trustee. So, and
Okay.
Marguerite and I had a chance today to talk with Pam at the senior center about this. And so we're still very early stages, and we're a long way from the finish line on this, but we wanted to get the idea out for people to start talking about. And so the concept that I've had is that I've spent the last 25 years in healthcare. And one of the things that, there's Marguerite, hey there. One of the things that impressed me in terms of progress in that world over the last couple of decades is the simple notion, but a powerful one, that problems rarely occur in isolation. So if you've got one condition, you probably have some other conditions as well, and you need to treat the whole person for that if you want to be effective with it. And I think a similar idea may apply in social services. And I've had some consulting experience in the social services world. And so, for example, you have a child with problems, there's a good chance that that problem runs into the family, also maybe into the schools, for example, and maybe some health issues as well there. And so I think you're better equipped if you've got a broader range of services available to support individual problems. And one way to do that I've seen in other organizations is consolidating those services into one organization. And the theory here is that if we were to form, for example, a human services department that would include youth and family services, would include senior services, and for starters, at least the veterans services, which are all sort of independent operations now, but a lot of overlaps across those boundaries. And in a perfect world, you might think about the Board of Health as well and the schools, but that's a steeper hill to climb near term here. And one of the precipitating events for me to think about is that we're getting close to some retirements in the senior center. And so if that organization changes, that creates an opportunity to rethink things without disturbing the personnel structure too much. And I know you folks have added changed some staffing recently here, added some capacity, which I think is a great move. And so that, again, in my mind, creates an opportunity to rethink how we're delivering all these services. And so at a very high level, my thought was that you might create a human services department to have a director of human services. And under that director would be a senior center director, would be a youth and family director, and a veteran services director, for example. And I think that, and the conversation that Marguerite and I had with Pam today reinforced the fact that this is not something that is a result of concern or problem with the way things are going today. In fact, I think we've got very effective services across all these organizations today. But as I look out toward the next several years, there's going to be a major budget crunch with this Neary School project is going to have a huge impact on tax rates if in fact that gets passed, and that's not a sure thing, but there's certainly some chance that it will. And so I think resources are going to be very tight. And I think we're better off if we find ways to deliver services more efficiently, remove overlaps, et cetera, and also reinforce coordination across these organizations, which I think is strong today. But as time changes and you get different personnel in those spots, you may have opportunity for less collaboration than we have today. So if you have that under one umbrella, I think that creates an opportunity for a director to make sure that we continue the good coordination and collaboration that we have today. So again, this is at the very beginning of the conversation. I've already heard that the Council on Aging is not overly enthusiastic about this, but we will work to communicate with them and try to explain why this actually has an opportunity for them as well. And I think there's a strong commitment. The Select Board is very much behind all of these departments. And I think there's a strong commitment to find ways to deliver more and better services to all of these customer bases out there. And in my mind, this is a way that could offset some of the budget pressures that we're seeing and reinforce the integration and sort of collaboration and coordination of services to these groups. And I think that each of the groups brings a real strength. And if, for example, I look at what you folks are doing, some of the mental health areas, seems to me that's a real need in terms of the senior services world. I participate in programs at the senior center myself, and I think there are people there who are in bad need of mental health support, for example, and we don't have infinite resources, and I think some of that is happening already, certainly, but if we can reinforce that, I think that would be a great thing. And similarly, I think that the Senior Center has an intergenerational program that's a new deal this year they got a grant for that, and I think those kind of programs are also hugely helpful in terms of keeping people connected as family units in the community. And so it seems to me, again, there's great opportunity to make progress and reinforce and continue the coordination collaboration that extends today and avoid some of the risks as we look at potential staffing changes, particularly at the senior center going forward. And I think that it's possible to do this with minimal budget impact because the people retiring at the senior center are at the higher end of the salary scale. and new people coming in would probably be lower down there. And so you could probably do this in a way that would allow adding some resources. And again, not having any interruption to services that are currently being divided or provided, but enhance those services. So the theory in my mind is that we continue to communicate this. Again, as I mentioned, Marguerite and I are going to join the Council on Aging meeting in a few weeks, and we'll see what happens there. But Pam is I would say, open to thinking about it. I wouldn't describe her as enthusiastic, but she is at least willing to consider, and I think that's a good start in the discussion. And I think the Select Board is very interested in this as well. And so I think, as I pointed out to Pam, seniors are 80% of the Select Board at this point, so there's strong support from that side. And I think the Select Board has been very supportive of youth and family and veteran services. Veteran services is actually ramping up some in sort of their resources now. Historically, Brian Stearns has been sort of a on-call resource, and he's been pointing out that there are a lot of veterans out in the community who are eligible for benefits who don't know about it, and he's doing a lot more to reach out to people. And I think that's a great thing, to get people benefits that they've earned and deserve and maybe don't know about. And even better, the federal government pays for that and not the town, so you could broaden the reach without an impact on the town budget, which is a great win for all of us, I think. So in a nutshell, that's sort of the idea. And I guess I would be interested in any feedback that you folks care to offer on that. Are we crazy, or does that sound interesting? Or that's something that you think could make sense? And are there things that are on your list that we ought to be sure to consider? And we're making a list of things that we need to provide detail on. I don't have a lot of detail at this point, but my plan would be to work particularly with Sarah and Pam and Brian Stearns to start filling out the blank spaces in here, and then continue to communicate among the youth commissions, Council on Aging, and have some conversation with the Friends organizations who are an important a part of all of this, which I think, again, all that sort of stays in place in my mind. I think nobody's talking about taking away any services, but reinforcing and adding services and adding the coordination effect that hopefully will give a better result to the people who use these services. So that's the concept. And again, appreciate any thoughts, suggestions, recommendations, or whatever anybody cares to offer on that.
I was just wondering if there are other towns, nearby towns, communities that have done this kind of consolidation under a human resource department that we could use as a model. Maybe have an opportunity to talk to them about what works, what doesn't work, how to make it better.
There are some. I don't have a good list though. I know Westboro, I think, combines senior and veteran services, for example. And I've heard that there are several others, and we will look around for more examples. But again, this seems to me to be a conceptually good model, and that there is a lot of similarity in terms of many of these services. And in some sense, it's not a wonderful, perfect idea to sort of segregate by age here, if you will. So that is sort of grown up out of, past practice, and it's worth rethinking. And I'm certainly convincible that this is not a good idea at this point, but so far at least it seems reasonable to me, and I'd like to keep pursuing. And Sarah, we will continue to look for other examples of this.
I was just going to say the town of Northborough just shifted to, theirs is more of a true health and human services model, which I know, Sam, you had mentioned the health department previously, but Needham has this model, Northborough now has this model, Westboro has combined some of their departments. Those are the three I can think of off the top of my head.
And Sarah, I'd also offer that our experience with getting grants is better if we've got combined applications. So, I mean, it's in certain areas, for example, the simple one is if we've got multiple towns applying. The Board of Health has been very successful in getting grants for Southborough plus other towns. And this intergenerational grant that the Senior Center recently received was easier because, again, it spanned multiple user groups there. And so I think that there is some opportunity for grant funding that gives us a bit of an edge if we've got multiple served groups out there with these kinds of programs. And hard to quantify that, but we've seen some signs that that's the case.
Are we missing any populations that we would want to add to the spectrum? I know that we have youth, families, seniors, vets. Is there any other?
I think that's the full age range, Sarah, but I think
Yeah.
there are other services. For example, Board of Health does some things that I think also span these populations. The challenge there is that they're an elected board, so they're fairly autonomous in a lot of ways. And the logistics of folding that in are considerably more complicated at this point.
Yes.
And again, I think that there's value in sort of getting a foothold here with a good structure. And then as it demonstrates that it's effective, then I think we can think about pulling more participants in. The big one for me is the schools. And as you folks are well aware, a lot of what you do certainly intersects with school programs. And that's a tough one too, just the way the organization is structured and that they're an independent board. But doesn't say we can't collaborate exactly as you're doing now. But from an organizational standpoint, I think we've picked the ones that seem to be easiest to do in the near term logistically.
Marguerite, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Hello, my old friends. I miss you. Hello. The other thing I wanted to say is having therapy available at the senior center is fantastic, and I think that's an indicator of a good piece of combined service. Pam was very, very happy about that. There's one thing that the senior center does that might be useful to think of as there's a thing called a Shine counselor. They're volunteers and they help you if you're going to get Medicare or Medigap insurance for the first time, because Social Security, as we all know, can be hellish to negotiate. And I think that also in the lower age brackets, there are things that require an enormous amount of paperwork, that it might be possible to have a similar assistance with things like Medicaid for children with disabilities or fuel assistance and all of these things that are someone who's been through it can counsel somebody. And it could be like the Shine counselor. As you come in on certain days of the week, the Shine counselor is there and she helps you through signing up for your health insurance. And it's just like she's done it a bazillion times. She knows how to do it. So I'm thinking maybe some similar type of thing that youth and families could offer might be a good thing to take from the senior center model. But maybe that you're already doing that, Sarah, and I just don't know about it. But I know that there is a lot of paperwork in the world and it doesn't seem to show any signs of letting up. So that was just a thought. And the other part was maybe, as Sam said, combined power of asking for grants that cover a lot more populations. But I think this is a wonderful idea to go to human services model so far. Anyway, thanks.
Thanks, Marguerite. Because I just want to say my personal opinion is it sounds great, and especially just the idea of the coordination across the services. And there's so many ways that could happen. I really like that idea.
Would they be housed in the same building? I think that would be really important in terms of being able to collaborate and share information and do programming together. I don't know if that's a possibility, but I think it's really hard to effectively share ideas and things if you're not in the same central area. But I could be wrong.
Maybe longer term, Sarah, but I think that's a little tricky in that a lot of what you folks do, I think, requires some degree of privacy. And so if you have everybody in the same place, you got people coming and going there that could be a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
I don't have a great answer to that, but
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I guess if they had an opportunity to meet, the directors all meet, have a directors meeting once a week or whatever that it would be. Because I personally, like Lauren, I think this would be a great idea. I think it would definitely help collaboration, help reach different vulnerable populations, and on top of that, improve efficiency and effectiveness of our human resource outreach. So I'm on board. I just see little things that, obviously would need to be worked out along the way, but
yeah, lots of questions, not many answers at this point. Again, we're just
it's
starting on the trip.
okay.
Starting on the trip. I would hate to get in the way of the flag school deal. I think that's a
Yes,
pretty
no,
wide.
I agree. I think it's going to be a good home for us. So
Comment for a second. I've seen just in other communities, it's not that it's a complete melding of these departments, but rather, well, it's different in every community. Northborough, for example, their health and human services model is the blending of one department, but Medfield was a town that I didn't mention that has moved to a human services department. So interestingly, they oversee recreation, library, their youth and family service. They're called Medfield Outreach, but it's the equivalent to youth and family services. All of those departments have maintained their individual focus, but the difference becomes that there's continuity, there's sort of this umbrella, there's more coordination, sharing of services that occur, avoiding duplication, increased efficiency, et cetera, all the things that have already been mentioned. So I guess I think of this comment in response to Sarah saying, would they be housed in the same location? I actually think it would be, the senior center is a very busy, exciting place. I've been there on a weekly basis. There's a lot of really fun programs going on, and I think it's important to maintain that space as a place for people to go and engage in those activities, and to have, not to say that some of the services that are confidential in nature couldn't occur in the senior center, but I think it's also important to have a separate option where people can go and have the privacy that they might want. So I don't know if it would require being in the same location per se, but
And Sarah, my thought had been that the departments would retain most of their own identity, as a matter of
Right.
fact, but the director of human services would be the glue that sort of holds it together and communicates and figures out when collaboration and how collaboration needs to take place, et cetera, manages the process basically. But again, there are a lot of ways you can do that. And as I say, we're just starting on the trip here. So a lot of opportunity for input and considering different options here. But just the goal here is to socialize the idea and get people thinking about it and figure out if there's some fatal flaw in here that I've missed that say, oops, we can't do it for this crazy reason. And then keep going. And timing too is an issue. Marguerite and I talked with Pam today, and she's going to retire, but it's not totally clear when that's going to happen. And so we don't want to disrupt that world. And so if she, for example, retired fairly soon, then we might think about it for FY26. If she stays around for a while, then looks like FY27 or whatever here. So no urgency, and that the system is not broken as it works today, certainly. We're just trying to make it better. And so, but what I suggested to Pam was that what I didn't want to have happen is come up on the time when she decides she's going to retire. And we say, oops, we need a plan. Let's scramble around and figure out what's happened. She's going to be gone in 30 days or whatever. And so I think this gives us a chance to have a longer runway to say, let's think about it carefully and figure out a good solution, good structure that we can transition to whenever that happens. And it's not so critical as to when it happens, as long as we got something that we think is going to work effectively when it does happen. And frankly, going forward, I think this world is going to get a lot more complex. I have great concerns about what's going to happen with the federal government and these programs going forward. And so the need for, I think, more stronger coordination and finding more efficient ways to deliver services where resources are presumably going to get tighter and tighter, I think falls back on the organization structure to help that happen. So that's sort of my high level view of it. And again, we're open to other thoughts and suggestions. Next step would be to continue to talk with people about it. And as I say, we got to talk to Council on Aging and some others, and we will circle back periodically to all the stakeholders here and talk about it. If people have other suggestions, ideas, you know where to reach Marguerite and me, or communicate through Sarah. And happy to again come back and talk about this more if you folks want to think about it more and talk about it more down the road here. So
Yeah, just a quick question. If the Council on Aging, for example, is in disagreement, who does the ultimate decision fall to make this?
technically the select board.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to do that, but technically the senior center is under the jurisdiction of the select board. And Council of Aging members are appointed by the select board. So as I said, it gets trickier if we were going to do something with the Board of Health, for example, which is independently elected and more difficult to deal with organizationally there. But again, what you want to have is you want to have everybody thinking this is a right step. And I think the Council on Aging, I'm hoping, will come to that conclusion, because again, they've been lobbying for more resources for some time. And I think this is a way to actually do that for them in terms of additional program support going forward.
Any other comments for Sam or Marguerite?
Good to see you.
Great.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much. And stay tuned. I'm sure it'll be exciting going down the road here. So
Right,
never
thanks.
go home.
Thanks for checking in.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye,
Lauren,
Marguerite. Thank you.
Lauren, don't hit remove. I think
Nope.
they just have to exit themselves.
Do they?
I think so.
There
I
we
think
go.
I just removed Sam.
Okay.
There we go.
Emily has apparently been banished for all eternity from Zoom. She's been trying that's why I'm sorry. I was partly distracted because she was trying through various means to rejoin the meeting and view the rest of it. So she's now back in the audience. Welcome back, Emily.
Yeah. All right, I think we could progress to the director's report. Sarah?
Sure. Okay, let's see. So we have a shorter director's report this time around. Just want to share that we closed out the Winter Wishes program successfully with help from Friends of the Southborough Youth Commission. Thank you very much to Karen and others for helping us with shopping for that program. We had many families participate, most of which wanted to utilize gift cards to shop for their own families. We had a few families that were asking for help with shopping for actual items. So we were very, very grateful for all of the support that Friends gave us during that time, because it was a lot of work. And I just want to publicly give a shout out to our business administrator, Janet, who this was her first go around at doing this, and she picked it up very easily and ran with it. And she nailed it. And I really, so she and I are very similar. We love to make tables, I found out, and color code them. And so it was like my love language. She was speaking to me and in ways that I could understand, organizing all of the information. And it was great. Went off very smoothly.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
Did I think it said that there were 98 families or something along that line? Were they in the end, did we raise enough to cover all of the families?
Yeah, I can give numbers on the Friends update, but yeah, we did. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. We have been advertising shelf help, and I'll share that we had our first shelf help meeting today for the book Upward Spiral, which I have here somewhere. Oh, here it is. So we had a lovely meeting this afternoon with a couple of our board members present, which was great. I'm kind of getting my bearings with doing this. I'm not used to leading a book discussion, but I think it went well, and we're excited for the second half of the book where we're going to talk more strategies and things like that. But it was a nice group, nice discussion. We have 2 more meetings coming up to talk about the book more in February and March. As I mentioned, well, we talked about this at our last meeting, budget proposal. I did submit the budget proposal that you all voted on. So we're just kind of in that season, looking at that, and this conversation about the Human Service Department plays into that. It's kind of I'm just waiting to hear more information at this point, and you know, how I can offer assistance and feedback. Or when I'm asked my opinion. Let's see, we've been working hard on further developing a universal financial assistance application. We've worked with our town treasurer and one of our select board members, Kathy Cook, on developing an income eligibility grid for families in Southborough. Understanding which programs we're going to pilot this for in 2025. We talked with Brian Valentine, our town treasurer, about the possibility of including trust fund applications for 2026. So there's a lot of different applications to look at that currently exist in the town. The goal being we want to avoid asking residents and families to have to fill out different applications with different departments and submit their financial information multiple times every time they're looking for assistance or are eligible for a particular program. So we're hoping to consolidate all of these opportunities for them and give them one-stop shopping for income eligibility, and then try to connect them with the resources that exist in the community. So that's moving forward. And then, as Emily and I talked about, we are working with Trendline, which is a data analytics firm that we've worked with previously through Encompass. And they're providing us with some technical support around conducting a community needs assessment. And again, our goal in the community needs assessment is to really understand concerns, barriers, you know, what resources do people gravitate towards and why. If they are aware of town services that are available and they choose not to use them, what the reasons are for that, so that we can, you know, better understand if we're missing the mark somewhere. And so we're taking a 3-prong approach with that, with a community-wide survey, some key informant interviews with various stakeholders in town, and focus groups. So right now you've seen more of a focus on focus groups, because those are going to be a little bit more logistically challenging to put together, given that we need 5 to 10 folks to be in the same room at the same time for the conversation. But I did hopefully share that flyer with all of you. So if you're interested in hosting a focus group or being part of one, I greatly appreciate your support around that. Emily and I are both going to be working on that, but Trendline, their 2 employees, Kendall and Michael, are also going to be facilitating focus groups. So we have a lot of flexibility with when those can happen and how. They could be in person, they can be virtual, but the goal is to have 5 to 10, or even better, 8 to 10 individuals participate. And it's
Sarah, are you looking
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you gonna like put out like categories, like, and then try to get participants? Are you looking for people to form the groups and then come to you?
It's a little bit of both. We have approached various groups that already exist to see if we can commandeer some of their time that they're meeting already, to conduct these focus groups, or to, kinder group, for example. There's far too many families that participate in kinder groups. So we're going to them asking for volunteers, and then we would have to schedule a separate time to meet with them. So it's a little bit of both, and seeing what we can do. Emily is very well versed in using online platforms for various things. And so she's been tasked with trying to find a way to allow people to sign up for different time slots on different dates. Or rather, I should say different dates, because we probably would only do one focus group a day. But for example, if we had 3 different dates and people happen to be available, they could sign up. It is nice to have a cohort of people with, a group of parents who all have high school age, kids, or a group of seniors, or a group of, I've reached out to the NS PAC group to see if they would have some volunteers. So that's, in an ideal world, how we would conduct those, if we can.
Okay, great, thanks.
So that's really what we've been busy with, and Emily and I have been spending a lot of time together, getting her onboarded, familiar with the town and employees and all the different things, and she's picking everything up very quickly. So we're thrilled about that. Upcoming dates and information. We've been approached by 3 of the elementary schools to participate in it sounds like it's going to be a community book study. I don't know if anybody has read The Anxious Generation or has participated in a book study through any of your kids' schools. But I know the staff have been reading this book together, and so and then I think they extended this out to parents, and there's been feedback from parents that they want to get together and discuss it. So we've been looped in on that, and I will be the first to admit we own the book here at the office, but I haven't read it yet. But it sounds excellent. It's a book about the role of technology, social media in our actually, I would probably say this is for young people, but probably something to reflect on for all of us. So I'm really eager to start reading the book and hear more about it. Let's see. We are spearheading an accessibility committee amongst town employees. And so this is really geared at town-wide, trying to ensure that all town departments have access to things like translation services, support for individuals with hearing impairment, ensuring that our office spaces are set up with ADA compliance, being able to translate our marketing materials. There's a number of things that that are not concerns of just our department, but something that I feel strongly should be available to every department. And I put the idea out there, and several departments agreed. And so we are forming an accessibility committee amongst employees, and going to do our best to try to put in place as many accommodations as we can for ensuring that all town services are accessible to every resident. So hopefully we will get that off the ground in the very near future. And I think that's really the main things. I mean, there's a couple of incidentals sprinkled in there. Mindful art is something, now that we have Emily on board, we are trying to reschedule that. I know some of you attended the first time around, and we were able to secure all the materials for that for around 2. So we've started the process of reaching out to Kim Welch, who's the art therapist we worked with previously, and she's planning to come back. So without going through every single bullet point, I don't know if there's any questions in response to any of those items.
Doesn't sound like it. Thanks, Sarah. If there's no other comments, we would move on to outreach ideas and opportunities. We don't have anything on the schedule as far as I know right now for the next couple of months. If anyone had any new ideas, we could discuss them. It's kind of a quiet time right now, I think.
I will say, even if we don't come up with any ideas, please feel rest assured. We continue on a weekly basis. We're over at the senior center, sometimes a couple of times a week, but at least once a week. We are at Colonial Gardens, we're at the library, and we're at the food pantry on a rotating basis. So you're right, it's a quiet time of year. There's not a lot of events, but we continue to get information out there about what services are available to residents.
Right, that's a great reminder. Friends update, Karen.
Okay. I don't have the number that what we raised, but we did raise all the money that we needed for Winter Wishes this year. I think it was close to 22,000 or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was all raised. We didn't even have, yeah. And actually, I think we just got a St. Mary's Credit Union come through because they had the wrong address. Something happened. So I think that's another 1,000. So we're actually have a little bit of a surplus. So Kathy just gave us our totals. So right now it's a combined bucket for Winter Wishes / camp scholarships, and that's 13,114. The SEDP bucket still has 8,237.
Sorry, Karen, what is that?
What's that? The SEDP.
What is that bucket?
Oh, the Southborough extended day bucket that we got from them when they closed or whatever. They rolled over a bunch of money to us to use for I think they wanted it for some camps, for some LGBTQ specific programs. So we have 8,237 left in that. There's 4,591 in our unrestricted bucket, and then 12,000 in emergency fund. And so we've raised we raised all the money for Winter Wishes, and our goal is to be able to raise all the money for camp scholarships without going into our $13,114 that we have in that bucket already. So we have a couple fundraising opportunities coming up. We're going to raffle off some Celtics and Bruins tickets. We're doing the March Munchie Madness program that we've done the last couple of years. And I think we're going to ask Nans, but we're also going to broaden it and do maybe Wellies and Wemmies. Wemmies and Wellies. Yeah. Those names sound so bizarre.
It keeps in line with oh, no. I was thinking it was WWW, but it's MMM, March Munchie Madness. It's just the inverse.
Yes. So they were very supportive when we had our raffle at the community house. They both donated, gift cards. And so I think Wemmy's is the newest location. It's the same owner as Wellies in Marlborough. And so they're really interested in they're supportive and getting their name out there. So we're going to reach out to them for if they want to participate in our March Munchie Madness. Kathy's asking Capital Group for another 5,000. And our CD, there was 60,000 in a CD, and she said that's accumulated 4,000 in interest, and that matures in May. So we can roll over the CD and we could put the 4,000 of interest or whatever it totals to into the unrestricted bucket. And one more opportunity, Kathy's going to apply to a Middlesex bank for some camp scholarship or camp or whatever. But she said, I guess this is the first year we're doing this new application because it takes a lot of effort and it's a lot more financial information we have to provide. And she hasn't been able to do it in the past. So we're really going to try to get that application in. I don't know the deadline yet, but she said we could get up to 10 to 20,000 from Middlesex. So all in all, I think we're really strong financial position right now. Sarah, after our conversation with Travis, do you know if he has gotten feedback from the Friends of Southborough Rec? Because our last meeting, we talked about potentially, instead of the Friends of the Youth Commission supporting the entire amount for the camp scholarships, which is like 22,000, whatever, over 20,000, we were going to split it between us and the Friends of Southborough Rec.
Yes, I don't have those details in front of me, but yes, so Recreation is going to put forth, I believe it's 2,000 off the top, and then the remaining balance will be split evenly between both Friends groups. So
Okay, great.
What's the best word? The weight of the program will not rest squarely on Friends of the Youth Commission to fund most of the program. It will be shared more equally this year.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and with the financial assistance application that I mentioned previously, we are going to, in the past, the way it's been handled, if a family's been income eligible to receive camp scholarships, it's been either you're eligible or you're not. And if you are eligible, you get 100% coverage of however many weeks you want. And we're not going to do that moving forward. It's going to be a tiered system.
Okay.
So families will be eligible for a certain percentage discount. Some families will still be eligible for 100% benefit, but many will be eligible for maybe 30% or 50% instead,
Okay.
which I think will be helpful. And we will also set a particular budget for camp scholarships versus saying, you know, we'll do everything everyone asks for. There's going to be a particular budget that's set aside, and you know, it's going to unfortunately have to come down to a first come, first serve process. But that should be, you know, what we talked about, given we have data from the last several years. The amount we came up with should be enough to cover most of what people are looking for support with.
Great. So if we think we can raise between now and May, you know, 10,000, we won't even have to go into the 13,000 we have there. And that should be doable with a couple of our fundraisers. I mean, we always raise a couple thousand on the Bruins and Celtics tickets. March Munchie Madness raises a couple thousand, and then we're kicking around some other ideas. We're not going to do any more raffles and community house vendor artisan fairs. I think we're going to try to do something different, maybe try something like, I don't know, a bowling night or something. So we have a meeting tomorrow night with friends, and so we're going to be kicking around some new ideas for the spring for a fundraiser. But all in all, we're in good shape.
Any comments? Karen, great. Thank you very much. So that leads us to adjournment. We'll have to have a motion for that.
No one wants to leave. Everybody wants to stay. They're having too much fun.
I make a motion to adjourn the January 14th, 2025 meeting of the Southborough Youth Commission at 7:57.
I second.
A roll call vote. Karen Ingram,
Bye.
Laura Chioco,
Aye.
Sarah Micas,
Aye.
Nancy Sutton,
Aye.
and Susan Byer,
Aye.
and Lauren Ritchie, aye. All right. Great meeting. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Happy New Year.
Care.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.